Now, without further ado, could we please give a warm MPTF welcome to Billy Bob Thornton, Allie Larter, Jacob Lofland, and Andy Garcia. So welcome. I know you're a little busy right now between making appearances and shooting the show, but could you just talk about how you first came on? Because, of course, this is part of the Taylor Sheridan TV universe, but it's a little different. And, well, first of all, how did you wind up getting reached out about the part?
I had done a cameo for Taylor in 1883. He said, I wrote this cameo, please come do it for me. And went down there, had a great time, and they had the premiere in Las Vegas for 1883. Afterward, they had a dinner. I was sitting next to Taylor. He said, I'm writing a show in your voice centered around you. It's about a peek behind the curtain in the oil business and see how it works. And he sent me the first script, and it was awesome. And I said, yes, sir, I shall do this. And he truly did capture the voice, I think. I think a lot of his is in it too, though. And then I saw the first 2 or 3 scripts, and then the strike happened. And so he had to lay off for a while. But eventually we got all 10 episodes, and he did such a wonderful job. So, you know, we're beholden to him. We just go out there and do our job as best we can as actors. And we've had a wonderful time. It's probably the best crew any of us have ever worked with. Amazing people, split from like Texas people and LA people. Mm-hmm. And the cast, I can't tell you how much they dislike me.
The tension here is palpable.
Oh, it is palpable, yes. No, we love each other. This is the best cast, and some of us knew each other beforehand, some did. Andy and I go way back, but it's the first time we've worked together in all these years.
Now, and obviously the rapport between the two of you as spouses, former spouses, now spouses again, just the banter back and forth on the show is just fantastic. What was your in with this character, and how did the two of you build up this relationship?
It all starts on the page, and we were very lucky that we had all 10 episodes before we started shooting. So it gave us a chance to really know what the journey of these two people were starting to go on, and we worked a lot to try to tone down some of the vitriol instead of the anger that was on the page, and really find the truth of someone who has incredible shared history together, and that they've left each other and then they're trying to make this work again, and what that looks like, and how it's messy and real and funny and painful and beautiful, and kind of all the feels of it being really fresh again. I'm so lucky that I get to work with him every day, and that he's my, partner on the show as my ex-husband, because every time he walks onto the set, there's not an inauthentic moment. And for me as an actor, it's so incredible to get to go every day and play ball with someone at that level. And so I think that it's a really messy, beautiful relationship, and I love getting to be part of it.
And Jacob, you actually turned out to be kind of the romantic lead in the show.
Surprising, right?
Which if you watch the first episode, you would never see that coming.
Me neither. We're winging it. We're gonna get it.
So how did the part first come to you, and what did you see the journey of your character over the course of the season? How did you approach that?
Well, like Allie said, having all 10 episodes was a great saving grace, just because you really can get the whole arc, all the way through and have an idea. The writing in these scripts were so amazing, so authentic, and so pure that it just I connected immediately with the character, and I didn't think there was another option other than to get it. It was like, I got to put everything I've got into this. And luckily it worked out, and here we are. Thank you, guys.
Now, and Andy, of course, you will be figuring prominently in the next season. But as soon as you show up, the dialogue that you have, all of you have very distinctive dialogue. I mean, I know you say you can hear Taylor in there, but everybody has a very different voice. Like if you just showed me a page with no names, you could tell who was speaking. There's no question. And as soon as you show up, your character's not what we expect. And the rapport between the two of you in just that couple of minutes, it's like you just really can't wait to see more of that. So how did you get involved with the show, and what is your take on the character?
Taylor reached out to my representatives. We actually share the same agent, so we, I guess, got lucky that way. And he reached out. He said, Taylor would like to invite you to Fort Worth. He wants to write a part for you in the show. And I said, Taylor who? And he said, the guy with all the shows on television. And I said, oh, I love television. I love Taylor. Anyway, so I went out there and we hit it off. He told me what what he wanted to do, the character, and I was surprised that this type of character even existed in the Permian Basin. You know, I had no idea. You know, obviously I was a fan of his. You know, I was just kidding. And he knew there was an old movie I did many years ago that he recited all the lines to me, you know, called A Million Ways to Die. So we go back, you know, from, you know, not directly, but in, you know, in the work, of course, first him as an actor. You know, I saw him first as an actor, and then I started to see all the things he started writing, you know, films and then the shows. And his work is sublime, really. I mean, we're really fortunate as actors to be able to play in this atmosphere he's creating and with the kind of scenes he's writing. It's very organic. There's a sense of truth in it, and the way he voices people, like Billy said, you know, it's really quite extraordinary. You know, we've been around a long time, thank God, and you don't come across that kind of writing all the time. You know.
Yeah. This isn't really a spoiler, but when the two of you first meet, you know, it's like, you know, well, I think we could be friends. And you're like, then the response is, you know, no, I don't think we could. Yeah. But so.
And then I think I said, yeah, we're going to be real good friends.
Yeah. Is there anything about your character? I don't want to ruin anything. But is there anything about this progression that you could tease about the next season? Like how much more?
I know the part of the thing about the, you know, Taylor's world is you can't tease anything, or else you might end up in the back alley of some building in Fort Worth. You know, where's Andy? I don't know. And, was he dressed in blue? Yeah, he's in the alley. No, you know, as in the scene, I don't know how many people. Well, I think they're going to see that episode today, so I'd rather not say too much. Some people have seen the series, some people have not. But when you see the show, the scene, it kind of sets up the situation for me and Billy to explore down the line.
And by the way, if you haven't seen the show yet, just because you're watching the finale, please watch the rest of it because it's all about the journey. It's about just the little savory moments. And one of my favorite things about the show.
Yeah, I only did that one scene at the end of the series. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a scene though, to put it mildly. One of my favorite things on the show though is this has some of the greatest phone conversations that I've ever seen on television. Like every time someone's phone rings, I'm like, oh good, here we go. Because you know something really good is about to happen. It's how the characters keep each other to speed on what's happening, but just the little turns of phrase in these phone calls in the show are amazing. So what was it? How do you do those scenes together? Because the chemistry between all of you is just amazing.
The Landman is he's a busy guy. I mean, he's always on the road, always in his truck, going out to oil fields and then going home to his eccentric family and a million problems. So every time someone calls, it's never good news. And sort of life imitating art in a lot of ways. But, you know, I'm in the middle of some argument with some oil guy, and then her face pops up, and she's laying in bed at home and wants to talk about, you know, me buying her a new ring or something. And so I do a lot of eye rolling, you know, but our conversations always, it doesn't matter if we're chewing each other out on the phone, and Ellie and I sort of made it, you know, made sure that this happened to soften things up and show why we're together. You know, when we're chewing each other out, when we hang up, it's always like, okay, babe, love you too, honey. See you for dinner, you know. So, yeah. The phone calls are a lot of fun, especially the FaceTimes. The first scene Ellie and I did in season 1 was a FaceTime. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was cool.
And that we were doing them for each other. So, you know, our set is filled with an incredibly generous cast and crew. Everyone gives 110% on our show. And so when we were starting, usually you just have like, you know, a blank screen and you'd be doing off camera with, you know, scripty or with the director. And so we did them for each other because we were still finding out and figuring out how this couple was going to be able to, you know, talk to each other. And so I think that's what made it very real too, is because we were there for each other. And also you know, we shoot in Fort Worth. And so this is an authentically Texan show. It's a big state. You're in your car a lot. Like there's a lot of driving, and Taylor spends a lot of his time rolling these calls and doing this. And so you see him take some of his own life and put it into the story of Landman. And so that's what I think part of it is too. But the actors, nobody's phoning one moment in on our show.
Did any of you actually, while you were shooting, did you come across any real oil people during the shoot or afterwards? Have you got any kind of feedback, like about the show, like how authentic it is, or
I'm not in the oil business
Yeah.
yet.
We're in Fort Worth. We're running across them every corner
Yeah.
and behind every door. Yeah. I've met more Landman in the last year than I ever knew existed.
Well, two funny things about that. One, this was only like a couple of weeks ago. This really short girl came up to me. I mean, she was, a really sweet woman, and I just thought she was going to get a picture with me. She comes up to me, gives me a really strong handshake, and not easy when you have that Dupuytren's contracture. But anyway, so she shook my hand really firmly, and she said, "I'm a landman," and I go, "Wow." And so we had wondered about that, and then we found out later that yes, there are plenty of women who do the job too, which is awesome. And but we talked about that stuff. Every now and then you get a landman come up to you, or someone in the oil business at some capacity, who'll come up and they'll say, "Love this show. You guys are doing so much for us. We love it." He said, "But the only thing is, you would never use an X42 wrench on the, whatever." It's like, dude, I don't write it. I just, if they tell me to put a wrench on something, I put it on there. I don't know.
That's when you say, I know, but they overruled me. Sorry.
Right. But that happens with any movie. I mean, it's like one Armageddon, it's like you can never blow it apart with a thing. It's like, absolutely couldn't. That's a total fantasy.
We're going to open this up for a couple of questions in just a moment, but any other vivid memories from the shoot that you want to share? Anything with the audience you'd like them to know about making the show?
Give it to the guy who was only there for 45 seconds. Yeah. I tell you one thing, what was tremendously impressive to me, and I've been blessed to be doing this a long time, is the efficiency of the crew and the shooters, the production designers, everything. I think they run 3 or 4 cameras on a scene. Yeah. In our scene with Billy, I think they were running, was it 3 or 4? No, 4 cameras maybe? Yeah, at least 3. Yeah, at least 3 cameras, maybe a 4th. And they're moving around, and they let us play, and it was the efficiency with that which also dictates the style of the show when you see it. It's really, I was very impressed by, how this crew and how the creative situation is set up there. And our director that directed the episode I was in, and is doing, I think, all of the second season, Stephen Kay, and he did a lot of the first season, is also phenomenal, just a phenomenal talent, very easygoing. And I remember he said to us the first day we worked, he said, Taylor called me and he said, "Let them do whatever they want to do, whatever they want to say," which is really, not that we change really anything, maybe, something might spontaneously come up in the moment, but that there's a trust and, we're in service of the material, we're not trying to stray from it. But then, having his acting background, he understands that we're discovering this relationship, and things are going to come up in the moment based on the outlines that he's given us, and he's given us the freedom to play that way, and that's special, because you can always discover something that can only happen in that moment,
The only problem with the 3 camera situation is sometimes they get profile close-ups. And I begged Taylor to not put them in because you get to a certain age. I told Allie one day. I said, "You remember this?" I came to Allie and I said, "I look like a lizard in a cowboy hat." It's like let's try to keep the camera somewhere out here,
and a little higher.
And a little higher.
Yeah, I signed up for that team too. I'm in the same team.
As the senior members of the crew here,
Yeah.
Andy and I.
Yeah.
Does anybody out there have any questions for any of the cast?
Babe.
Say that one more time, Carol.
Any chance there'll be a land woman on the show, babe?
You just never know. So she worked with me on Goliath. Yes.
So how many weeks are y'all in Fort Worth shooting? And during those weeks, are you shooting 5 days, 6 days? Does it depend?
This is such a huge show, and we're down there for 5 months. So that is, there's tremendous care that goes into making this. And I will say it is a very efficient show, but when time needs to be taken, it is. And so that's something that I think you feel on our show. Sometimes you'll get, last year, well, I guess we can only talk season 1, but Billy was working almost every day. You know, I would go on stretches and then have a little break, and then because all these different people were coming on to the show. But yeah, I mean, it's 5 months of our time, and we pushed a little bit this year, so it's not going. We're going deeper into summer this year in Texas, but it's real, so we'll take it. But yes.
Hi, congratulations. It's just a wonderful show.
Thank you.
Every episode seems like there's a little, while it's insanely entertaining, there's a spoonful of medicine that comes in 30-second, 45-second bites about the real world, about the oil business. Is that purely is that just saying Taylor's words, or do you guys talk about that? Because it's, you know, it's borders on the political.
Here's the thing about this, and I've said this before publicly, that when the art was not judged before, when we were all coming up from the point of view of an agenda, that we just watched whatever it was, and the quality of the work and the quality of the writing and stuff, that's what you judge things by. And these days, it seems like more and more people will say, like, for instance, if you don't like, I used the example the other day about if they're making a movie about Jack the Ripper, nobody likes serial killers. But if someone does an amazing job playing Jack the Ripper, then hats off to you. You know what I mean? And so this is not a show that has a particular political point of view. It just shows you kind of all of it, because Kayla Wallace, who plays the attorney, she gives the other side of it. And so it's really a peek behind a world that we haven't seen much. I mean, Dallas, but that was more of like a nighttime soap, you know. But not since the movie Giant. I don't think we've really seen a look at people in the oil business in West Texas. So Taylor just simply wrote something that said, this is how it works. This is how it affects people who are in it and around it, adjacent to it, whatever. And this is what it's like in Texas in this business. And I've said before also that if we found a way to make water run everything on earth, oil men would get in the water business, because they're just there to make money. It's a business like everything else is. And we don't really have, I mean, none of us have a real political idea in our heads when we go out there to do it. We're just doing a show, you know. I mean, for Christ's sakes, I did Bad Santa, you know. So, you know.
With all of Taylor's shows, the writing is just incredible. So how much, piggybacking on what you were saying, Andy, how much freedom do you get to, you know, explore and go off a little bit and make it your own, or do you guys stay tight once you've established it, you know, when you're getting ready to shoot, you know, or are you allowed to find stuff in the moment because of the schedule, or just what kind of license do you guys get to play?
Well, I mean, I can only speak for myself, what I was articulated by Taylor and then by Stephen, but you don't really need to do anything. It's all there, you know. The thing is, when you start taking your fellow actors in the scene, and things, you know, the performances are coming off of their energy, and things can happen, you know, and things, then you might have, your character might articulate something that's not written, but because it's something that happens in the moment. But it's not something like you're going home going like, oh, I'm going to say this and I'm going to say that and I'm going to say that. No, there's nothing to think about. The writing is so beautiful, you know. But he's you know, he did articulate to saying, you know, you guys do your thing, you know. So I don't know, you know, with you guys, because I was only there, like I said, this one time. I'm going back now to wreak more havoc.
I have my classic question. What was your best day during production, and what was your worst day?
One for both. One
Yeah.
day. I think we had our dinner scene last year. Family dinner was one of the most fun and most stressful days probably out of all, but we enjoyed it, and it was great.
It's a scene that really shows the family coming together, and if you start the season at the very beginning, you don't know where it's going. So as it kind of unfolds, one of the things is like these dinner scenes, and I think that definitely Bolognese will be one of my favorites, but one of my least favorites because June bugs crawled out of the salad when everyone was eating
That's what made it my favorite.
That happened, and I was watching Michelle look down and still stay in the scene as we saw those June bugs crawling out.
She held it all the way till she had to take a bite too. And that was the end. Yeah, that was great.
And as the lizard in the cowboy hat, when I saw the June bugs, my tongue just shot out and I got them all.
Well, thank you so much. I know
Thank
you've
you.
got to get y'all back on the road, but thank you for coming by. Thank you to Paramount
Thank
for
you
setting
so
this up.
much.
Please enjoy Landman.